Township of Cohasset, regular monthly meeting, October 15th, 2019.
Press times in the Star Gazette satisfying the requirements of the Open Public Meetings Act. If we all could stand for a moment of silence, please, and a flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'm going down past your place. Walking around.
If everybody has had a chance to look at the minutes from the August 14th meeting, anybody have any amendments or corrections to those minutes? If so, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
I move we approve.
Okay. Babinski, you have to abstain.
abstain.
Right. Melvin?
Yes.
Van Loo?
Yes.
Slack?
Yes. Motion to pay bills. Payment of bills presented in proper form, signed by the director of each department and approved by the majority of the members listed on the bill list. Does everybody have a chance for the bills? Any questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second that.
Okay. Babinski?
Yes.
Melvin?
Yes.
Van Loo?
Yes.
Slack?
Yes. Okay, public comments. Are there any public comments pertaining to agenda items? If so, please come forward and sign in.
Are you going to allow public comment after the ordinance?
Yes. I think we're, yeah, that one, that one.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, because he insisted it.
Seeing no public comments, then we'll move on.
Thank you.
We have our representative from JCP&L, Stan Trek.
No, Stan Prater, sorry.
He's the
Prater, I'm sorry. Anyhow, would you like to come forward and give us a report on the reliability improvement plan from JCP&L?
It's good to see the face of it.
It always is.
Good evening, everyone. Stan Prater, Jersey Central Carolina. I'm your representative. Just wanted to come in to kind of report out last year we submitted to the Board of Public Utilities a plan for a reliability improvement plan, and it called for a rate increase. The plan was approved, and we started doing that plan this year. And for HACCON, what happens is every 20 years we're on what we call a cycle tree trim. You're served at Alpha substation. We on schedule, on a normal schedule, we did Alpha substation, we trimmed it earlier this year, sometime in January, February. Well, we came back in 3 months, we came back in the April and May timeframe, and we did this enhanced tree. What that means is, you've got the Emerald 4 ash, that's affecting trees, and you've got ash trees out here that are dying. You have dead trees along the corridor, along the circuit, so we came in and we trimmed and removed trees, additional trees, in the April and May timeframe, and that was done this year. We also installed something called a trip saver. Trip savers are a smart fuse that basically can detect if a tree or an animal hits the line. Instead of having a 2,000 customer outage, it will isolate the outage to, say, 200 customers until, or even restore all those customers if it's something minor. If the wires are not broken, if the poles are not broken. If the outage is a permanent outage, again, it will isolate the outage, minimize it, until we can get a crew out here. So we've installed a couple of those here in town along Carpenter Mill Road and Still Valley Road. So just wanted to share that with you, that you guys have had some installation out here, had some work done since that plan was approved by the Board of Public Utilities.
Question about the trip breakers. Will that also allow for remote monitoring? So you're saying, for example, say something trips it real quick, but there's no damage. is that able to then be remote monitored and then say, okay, we can do a test and then flip it back on? Or-
It is not SCADA controlled.
Okay.
But it does pinpoint the outage, so instead of, let's say you have an outage, you guys call it in, and you say it's, let's say it's on Municipal Drive, you know, houses are on Municipal Drive. We don't know where it is, we just know houses out on Municipal Drive. So what the troubleshooter will do, or the crews will do, they'll come down and they'll see where a fuse is out, and they'll have to ride that circuit to try to find the outage. The smart fuse will indicate, though, where the outage is actually is, and what isolates the outage. So it does save us time in terms of restoration. But SCADA control are some of the fusing that we have out here, but not all, not the chip stations that we install. Right, your question?
Your question, Linda?
I was just gonna ask, is there plans to install, you said you installed 2 of them, are there plans to install more, or what's the?
Not this year, but possibly next year, and when we do, I'll come back out to let you know. But I just want to let you know the ones that we did install, and the reason we picked those locations is because that's where we saw the fusion being open, and it caused the outage for whatever reason, whether it be a car pole accident, whether it be a tree, whether it be an animal. Those fuses in those areas opened up multiple times, and so that's why we selected those 2 areas.
If you were called, would that help you pinpoint more? In
Yes,
other words, like, my power's out,
yes.
and it's because of what you're saying, and I called you, would that, like, cut down?
You could call 1-800 number.
Right, but it'll cut down where you have to look?
Yes, the more calls we have, the more, the better our indication of where the outage is. We can basically make a determination, because if 2 people call in, and the 2 neighbors call in, we'll know that the fuse that they're connected to is probably the one that operates. If it's just one, we may not know where that fuse is located, but it may be something else that, you know, that we have to look for. But you're right, the more phone calls we get, the better indication we'll have where the outage is. So that's exactly right.
Stan, our end of the township, at least where I live, I know is serviced out of Hawk Schoolhouse Road substation. What's the schedule for maintenance and such on that one?
You know, I'm gonna have to find out, because you know what, there's only really, believe it or not, Mayor, there's only a handful of customers served out of Hawks.
Right, I know, like, in Hillhackers, I know some of Greenwich and such comes down.
Yes.
But I know for a fact ours comes out of Hawks, and there's been issues, not big, but once in a while we'll lose one phase through our area, and it takes a while, you know, one neighbor will have, one neighbor won't, so it's kind of confusing.
Yeah, I basically look at the Alpha, because that's the majority of the residents who connected Alpha, but I'll get back to you on the Hawks, and like that at the top of my head.
All right, very good. Anybody else have any questions for
Just you,
Stan? Go ahead.
Shackleton come out of Hawks?
I think Shackletown does come out of Hawks.
Okay, then I'll use that. I always thought
Stop
that-
somewhere right around the tunnel.
Okay.
But I know some comes from Warren Glen up, but some comes from Bloomsbury out. So where that stop is, I'm not sure.
I can email, Juan the information.
You can email me.
Well, I was saying Juan, because then hopefully she'll disseminate it
Oh,
to
okay.
everybody.
You always send me emails, that's why I said I'm on your list.
Oh, okay, I can, however you want it.
Getting back to the emerald ash borer and the ash trees, is that something the ACP&L can continue to monitor as far as those ash trees?
Yeah.
Because ash is very prevalent in our area. I know, and I will give you guys kudos up there on 173. I know you took down a bunch of ash trees right there by our church, and I knew that was the reason why.
Yeah, we'll look at it. So the way we determine that, because, you know, we have a budget for trimming, is if the tree is in decline or dying, because there's some ash trees out there that are healthy. So we took down the ones that were noticeably dying and decaying. So yeah, we're gonna continue to monitor those trees, particularly the ones that could affect our infrastructure. So there's some ash trees that are on private property that are outside of our trim zone, that we would not normally get to. And if those private property owners, if we approach them, you know, we have to ask permission, hopefully they'll give us permission to remove or trim that tree that's on private property. So if we need assistance from you and council, you know, to have some debate there or some, you know, resident that refuses we'll see if we can get you guys involved and encourage them to, what we need to do.
Now, preventative maintenance on lines is paid dividends tenfold over from what you forward.
In your opening, you mentioned that you standardly trim trees every 4 years. You have a 4-year cycle. Is that going to be more aggressive given the problem that you're seeing with the ash borer?
No, this plan is part of the being more aggressive. So every 4 years, is our normal cycle. We'll either, and so with this plan, what we did normal cycle trim, and then we came back in 3 months after that. We wouldn't normally do that.
Right.
So that's the aggressive part of this plan.
So how often are you going to do inspections? You said you're going to do it again next year. Is that an annual thing to check the lines, or?
No, we'll come in, every 4 years. We just did the aggressive part of the tree trimming. However, if we start having outages related to, trees, ash trees falling down, we'll come in and re-inspect the.
So it'll be more passive. You're
Yeah.
waiting for a reaction to if there's outages versus.
Yeah, so what happens after you normally trim, you usually have good reliability, and then somewhere around the third, going into the 4th year, that's when you start to see outages pick up again.
I'm just wondering, with the ash borer and now even with the lantern fly, if that's hitting maples, I understand, if that's gonna perhaps change that schedule, we need to be more aggressive, because they're,
No, because what happens is we're budgeted for a certain amount of tree trimming, and we went in for a rate increase so that we had this additional money to do the trimming, so we have to stay within that budget, unless we start seeing, again, if we start seeing a bunch of tree outages related to the MOS or even the new, fly that we just mentioned, then we'll come in and we'll do something called spot tree trimming.
okay.
But, it's hard to say that we're gonna monitor more, because again, we're charging customers for this additional work that they're doing. So that's
Sure.
kind of stay within our budget.
Thanks.
Any other questions?
No.
Thank you very much for the report.
Thank you. Good evening.
You as well.
Walk out to the deer.
Yes.
Yeah, well, we have others for it. To cut down on it.
Okay, moving on, attorney's report, Kevin?
Relatively short, but just from procedural standpoint for the record, last meeting, to try to get some continuity election-wise, with Bill Ortell's resignation, Kevin took Bill's seat, Kevin then resigned and appointed Ingrid. And that, I should not have let that happen. Wanda pointed out to me that I actually had done a memo outlining that procedure, and I had overlooked the fact that we were beyond 30 days since Bill had resigned, so technically we couldn't do that. So just for the record, that I indicated I hadn't been around, so Kevin stays where he is, and Ingrid stays where she is. But I apologize for that, Ingrid, and we were laughing about it earlier, that it was the shortest appointment, I guess, maybe in Blacktown history, but I do apologize for that. That was my mistake. I should have picked that up, and Wanda was correct to pick it up out of an old memo I had done, I think, when Ken Schick resigned, so.
That's when I got appointed.
And that was.
That was a while ago.
So that was my error, my mistake. I apologize to everybody for that. I just wanted to indicate that. Yeah, I just wanted to indicate that for the record. Again, my apologies, Amy. I enjoyed having you. So I just wanted to indicate that for the record, so that's clear. Beyond that, the mall tax appeal is continuing. We're having, of course, not surprise, discovery issues with the owners of the mall. They haven't produced their discovery. They haven't given us a list of names for depositions. So we're dealing with that with the judge.
What do we do if they don't cooperate at all?
Motion to practice.
The judge will...
Yeah, Judge Zuboff.
Gold's Gym closed at the end of September.
Yeah.
And the email I got from them, the guy on the sounded a little irate with, because he said that the owners are doing everything they can to discourage any businesses that are there and anybody who wants to come in. So I don't know how that plays in this tax thing.
It is a factor. It's changed the way we're going to approach the defense of the litigation, and I have spoken with Wayne, and I've spoken with our expert, Wayne is going to be getting me some information. I don't want to elaborate further upon that because it's going to be in our expert report. But we are fully aware of what they're doing there, and we're going to take that into account when we do our report. And I
Yeah, well, if you-
Will we be-
Get all the businesses not to be there.
Will we be posturing a more aggressive approach?
Well, we're fully defending it. They've offered settlements, I've passed those along. The settlements are very, very ridiculously low. They came up a little bit, but they're still ridiculously low. And I've just told them in no uncertain terms that this case is gonna get tried, so get ready to get your $50,000 appraisal, which is really what they don't wanna do, as you guys are aware. But yes, we've always maintained an aggressive stance. We've always indicated that any settlement would have to involve the dismissal of multiple years of the appeal, because you guys have to reach into your pockets and write checks out
Yeah.
for those prior years. So we've maintained an aggressive stance, and again, your assessor's been great to work with. I feel very good about our expert. He is the expert in all appeals in the state of New Jersey. He feels comfortable in approaching it. We're just changing the way we're going to approach it a little bit, which I can elaborate a little bit more in the executive session when we get to that point.
Kevin, when do you feel this is gonna get to be tried? Still a year out at least, or?
Next year, yeah. There was a kind of spring date, but now the dates will probably move a little bit. But I would like to get it tried next year, because every year it's another year.
Right, another year added on.
Correct. So I'm pushing for a trial next year. We've also paid for half the appraisal, so we'll finish that up next year. He's agreed to wait for that. And the price has not gone up for that. So I think we're in pretty good shape.
What would happen if the, property would change hands in the middle of the appeal? Can they still follow through with the appeal because it was?
That'll depend on contractually in that contract, whether they reserve the right to prosecute the appeal and get the readings. That would be a matter of their contract.
I would think they'd cut their losses.
It's happened before. In fact, I think there were pending appeals by the league when these people bought, and they actually bought the appeal. So it's more by a variety of different ways. You might have
Yeah.
the successor purchaser.
So the appeal could go along with the
Could go,
purchase?
yes, it could. But hopefully we would get somebody a little more straightforward.
And that's allowed legally to transfer?
It's assignment of a legal right, sure. Absolutely. I mean, just substitute in. So that's where that stands. On your agenda later tonight is that the donation agreement for that Second River Road property. I was able to confirm with our tax collector that the unpaid taxes have been brought current. So if that closes later this month, again, that'll be one more property that'll be off the tax rolls, unfortunately. But it's one of those severe repetitive loss properties, and the people can't afford the flood insurance premiums anymore, basically. They're getting pretty excessive. It's also part of the grant that you guys have signed off on a few years ago, and I believe this is the last property until that time. So this will be the last of those. And finally, I did get some additional documentation on that River Road settlement, including deposition transcripts, so 2 engineering expert reports, actually. They're kind of interesting. One, I think I sent those to you. I know I sent them to Wayne now, because if you recall, we had our risk manager in, and, there was a suggestion perhaps that we should look into guardrail or other issues down there, so that was an insurable risk going forward. So I've sent those to Wayne. Wayne and I have talked about it, and when he gets the time, he'll take a look at those and come back to you guys with some recommendations. Bottom line was, it was a tragic incident. The optics of it were, heart-tugging type of things. I think it was still really defensible, but just so you guys know, there were demands of $3 million for the season case settled for a fraction of that. So although it was still a reasonably large number, it wasn't close to that. So we did have good defenses. At the end of the day, I was satisfied that our insurance defense counsel did a good job with it. And so Wayne has that information. So beyond that, I think and I am still reaching out I'm trying to catch up with Keene Baranga, so that we can get a good ordinance and hopefully get some trespassing enforcement authority from the railroad down there. I haven't forgotten about that. And Steve, you missed it when you were away, but we did have our architect from here in town. Mike was here. He seems to be jumping into it with 2 feet, Steve, so we've given him a little more time to kind of come up with a game plan. The other thing we did discuss was, not perhaps just for the store, but for a couple parcels down there in that area, possibly pursuing a redevelopment strategy, kind of like we're doing with the school. Mike thought that might really help. Mike's focus, it seems like, on trying to grab an investor. He feels like he has some interest there.
Didn't he say he was interested in
And Hoots, yeah.
So I asked Mike to provide a detailed project plan, so that it's all spelled out, not just, oh, we may do this, we do that.
Dates and that sort of thing.
And Mike's coming back, I think, what, November, meeting. So I think that's all I have at this point.
Anybody have anything, Kevin? All right, moving on. Engineers report, Wayne.
I do have one.
Oh, got it.
Pretty much, have you officially heard anything?
I have heard nothing. Well, I can tell you this, I did follow up with Mike Lavery. I think you and I spoke briefly about this on the phone, I gave you an update. Mike Lavery, the council, although he was copied with that letter from the Administrative Officer of Courts, apparently had seen it, so I forwarded that to him. Just so you know, again, Steve, what happened was when the Administrative Officer of Courts got wind that we've been providing them services with no contract for the last year, they said that they cut that off, and they said that they get no money. It all goes to us.
Well, we initiated that,
And
it was submitted by the court administrator, and AOC said, you have no contract, so that's fine. So basically, they approved what we had put forward as a resolution. So until it gets,
Right. And so I understand, again, we've heard this before, so I'm not holding my breath, but at this point, it's not hurting us, to be honest with you. But I've heard that they're coming up with some type of counter proposal, but I haven't seen it. Difficult.
I got questions for you. I know it's on the agenda a little further on, but the house up by the school that we got taken possession of,
Yeah,
that's getting torn down.
that's totally up to you guys. We haven't made that decision.
Oh, okay,
You have a couple options there. You can just go right back out to auction and require as part of the auction terms that whoever gets it tears it down, or we could tear it down if we want to use it.
I had an idea too, we could give it to, tear it down. I don't know if you guys have that tear it down part, but give it to Habitat for Humanity and let them build a house. Would be great. I mean, that would be a nice, I think, a good thing to do. House back on the tax roll again.
That'd be wonderful. I can put some, Ben Eskew.
That's just a thought, it's something else to discuss.
Ben Eskew is the executive director for the Warren County chapter. I'm working with him a lot in Franklin Township. They do a great job. Believe it or not, they just came in earlier last week in Franklin Township. You know, they have a 10-day, it's like a 48-hour blitz where they get all these volunteers and these things just go up. It's pretty amazing, and they work very closely with the construction officials. They do a great job. If you want me to reach out, Steve, I'll...
Yeah, it's up to everybody else, but you got an idea, that's...
Well, it's close to volunteering.
And, well, and the council's in affordable housing, because they do put these restrictions on it.
Yeah, it fills a lot of...
There's a lot of
needs.
Would they have interest as is, with demolition involved or not?
Well, what we could do, and what we did in Franklin, now, we have some affordable housing trust money, so we could even factor
Knock it
in
down.
giving a little bit of money for demo, because we have to spend it on affordable housing things anyway. So I think that'd be a great
Oh,
idea.
okay, it has to be up, yeah,
Has to
right.
be. So
I had forgotten.
That's a great idea.
Yeah. What's your thoughts, Kevin?
yeah, I think it's a noble cause. And like Steve said, it checks a bunch of boxes for us.
You want to follow?
Yeah.
You want that as a motion, Wanda, or can we just take action?
I think you can just direct Kevin to check into it, because you're not really doing anything yet, but...
Yeah, because we haven't really decided 100%.
What I'll do is I'll reach out to Ben Eskew, again, and Steve, I'll keep you in the loop as the liaison.
Oh, thanks.
Sound good? And the man, I'll you too. Sound good? But yeah, I think they'd be very excited. The Warren County chapter is really picking up steam, and they are great volunteers.
They
That's a nice place for-
in our church bulletin for them.
Yeah,
That's a nice place for a house, too.
great idea.
It's a nice neighborhood.
If you guys want, yeah, I'll get contact. I can also tell you too, if you really want to, it's up to you guys. They'll either do a single family, or some of the families that they're trying to help, do a little bit smaller units, and they'll the two-family there if you want.
I don't know if there's room for that or not. so.
I don't know what it's done for.
It's pretty deep, the lot, but it's rather narrow. I was in the house and looked at the lot, it's not very wide.
Yeah, it's not like Murray's, it's not, so we'd have to.
All right, it's done, I'll set that up.
All right, anything else for Kevin? If not, we'll move on to our engineer, Wayne Ingram.
So the project everybody is probably tired of hearing about the Phase 1 guide rail. It's completed plan-wise. I did forward it over to Kevin's office just for a final review to make sure contractually that we're all covered. And then, you know, as soon as we get that, we'll run off the copies, you know, get it over for publishing for the bids. Regarding the sports field project, everything's waiting to go. I'm just waiting on the application check, and we'll get that over to the Soil Conservation District, which is our one necessary approval.
So I talked to the mayor talked to Soil Conservation, they will not waive the fee, we found that out today.
They even told me that if the federal government comes in with a project, they charge them too, so there's no, but she did say that will be the only fee then for the whole job. That will include all inspections.
Make it through, yeah.
Right on through.
That'll be good.
So I spoke with the CFO, and I'll send you an email to them to cut the check. So it wasn't available tonight as I wanted it to be, but we'll get it to you soon.
That's fine, let us know, and we'll stop by and grab it. So our big win on the grant front, we awarded the $500,000 grant to repair Pinterest Point Road. The original estimates you guys probably saw from the prior engineer was about $1.5 million to do the project. My personal opinion is I think that number is high. We can accomplish it for a lot less, but we're not going to accomplish it for $500,000. I think before we're going to get a much more refined estimate, you know, we have to decide if the work's going to be done, you know, for the project. Probably have a couple years before the project is due, but there's a long approval time frame because we have to get some pretty substantial permits from the DEP to stabilize that stream bank. You know, in my report, you know, I'm estimating probably somewhere around $50,000 of work, and the permit fees should be under $15,000, but we don't know the total amount until we determine how much stream needs to be analyzed to get the permits through the DEP. So again, this was just recently awarded, so we have some time to consider it. But, you know, I think the amount that was received is probably as good as could be hoped for from DOT under one of these grants. They want the municipality to, you know, contribute their part. You know, again, I do believe the number's a lot lower, but there's going to have to be a municipal contribution to the construction when you get to that point. So that's just something to consider, you know, if that's something you want to move forward with, to start getting the work going. I would say you're probably looking at 6 to 8 months of working with DEP to get this thing approved.
Is there opportunity for substitute grants or alternative grants to supplement?
I wouldn't really think so. Based on the amount that they provided, that's about as big of a grant as anybody gets.
That's a pretty big one.
Yeah.
That's a sizable grant.
Wayne and I talked about that, we were talking about a couple other things. I mean, basically, you know, look, it's not gonna be $1.2 million. I think when it's comfortable, it's still gonna be, you know, you could be looking at a $250,000 or $350,000 municipal contribution. So if you guys are serious about this, and then you got your soft costs.
Yep.
So that's on top of the $500,000. So, I mean, next year when you guys think about budgeting, might be a good time to, with our new CFO, get John Drakewitz out here, our bond counsel, just kind of review where you guys are, because this probably would have to be something that you bond.
What's that good for, a year? The grant?
Yeah. 2 years.
Probably 2 years. Yeah.
And usually, Wayne, and I think this would be the same, it's 2 years, and if you get the contract awarded within the 2 years, you can extend it.
Extend it, yeah, right.
But, so, again, but given the timeframes to line all that up to get out the bid, you know, certainly by later next year, you have to decide if you're going to bond this.
Yeah. This isn't a co-op project. We're bidding it, so, you know, we're going to need.
You know, and that's the problem, it's a prevailing wage project, there's a big one.
Yep.
And also not to let anything we get fail because of not following the timelines. That's
Absolutely.
a shame, when you get a chunk of change and then just let it go.
Yeah, I mean, and like I said, again, it's a sizable grant. That's one of the biggest ones I've seen for a project in a road like that, you know. So I think we should take advantage, but, Phase 2 and Phase 3 guide rail, I know I mentioned it before, so the first Phase 2 grant must be awarded by February. Phase 3 has probably an additional year, on it. However, so to award it by February and to go through the co-op pricing doesn't come official to January. They did say, however, that we can contact them late November, December, and they'll give us an unofficial, tally of who's going to be low bid and what the pricing structure is. It doesn't give us a heck of a lot of time, however, once we know that, for me to come back here and tell you the final number, and then to, go back to them and get this contract awarded within our timeframe. Because we still have to get this through DOT review, because plans have not been prepared for either of these. We could do these separate, we could do Phase 2, and Phase 3 later. I think there's some quantity and scale savings, in doing them together. You can combine the grants and do it as one project, so there's some advantages there. But again, we could leave them separate, but I think it's one of those things that, I'm putting out there today, because I think by next month, we're gonna have a decision whether this is a grant you wanna follow through on, or whether it's gonna walk. I think that, other than design, I think, the grant will fully, fund the project. I just don't know that officially until next year when the numbers come out. So, we just need to decide if it's something you want to proceed with, because we would then have to prepare the actual plan so we can get you a final estimate, and so we can get the DOT to approve it. And then the second question is, if you do want to proceed, do you want to just do Phase 2, or do you want to do 2 and 3? The overall grant amount, I think, is somewhere in the range of $400,000 between the two, if you were to combine.
And Wayne and I did briefly discuss it, again, just to reiterate, there's no way to move any of that money to any place else in the township, including, I asked Wayne about River Road, actually, with that settlement, and it's just not gonna happen, so.
Yeah, and especially on that, because it doesn't actually pass the warrant analysis, they're not going to fund it. Not to say that I don't think we couldn't put guide rail up, which is something, again, regarding that we're going to take a look at, and if we think it justifies it, even if it doesn't pass the warrant, if that is something that you want to consider from your liability perspective, we could do that project. We just are not going to get grant funding for it.
The other thing, Wayne, just to go back to the Phase 1 thing, you and I have been working on the specs back and forth, and I will take a final look at those. Did you want to get authorization of the bid tonight, so we could potentially have a bid opening before the next meeting, or at the next meeting? I don't know, it's a few time frames.
Well, we're
works.
really pushing our luck with DOT, so I would love to get this thing going as soon as possible. So as long as we're authorized to make the bid, as soon as you tell me okay.
Well,
we'll
I
make
think
the
we should do a
copy.
motion to go out, authorizing the Wayne to go out to bid on Phase 1. Do you want to do, would you like to point out what your preference is, you prefer to open like that, right here, like at a public meeting? Would you rather have it like the Thursday before, so you can evaluate them and report back?
I'd like to get it in advance so that I can
So,
give you a proper
so our meeting
recommendation.
is November 19th, that's the first Tuesday of November. How about, with Thursday, the 14th bid opening at 10 a.m. work here?
That's fine with
And
me.
you want to have that here?
Here's fine. Yep.
So why don't somebody make a motion to authorize the Wayne to go out to bid on the Phase 1 guardrail project only, with the bid opening at, November 14th here at the municipal building at 10 a.m.
Okay, I'll do it.
I'll help Wayne do that later.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Okay, Babinski, Melvin,
Yes.
Van Loop,
Yes.
and Swack.
Yes.
Well, and I'll work with you on that notice, like, we do that all the time.
Yeah, and Wayne will have the bid specs. Are you going to pick it up from me or from you?
Kevin's got them. I'll make all the copies and deliver you full packages, yeah.
I'll make a final, I'll try to get that done tomorrow.
Okay.
So again, just to get, finalized on Phase 2, 3, by next meeting, I think, the council will have to make a decision what they want to do. Otherwise, I just don't think we'll meet the timeframes, to get it in there. Just regarding the solar project going on off of High Street, the EAI property, construction is underway. We've gotten a few complaints and concerns from a couple residents. It hasn't been that much. The mayor reached out to me actually too. For some reason, they were getting a couple complaints, so he just conveyed those to me. The contractor was going over a bridge well over weight limit, so that's been addressed and resolved for the time being. A lot of the complaints are basically related to noise, but I think the contractor's working within his hours, and we put him on notice on that. A couple other minor issues, but overall, contractor's running a pretty clean site, and we're probably gonna be done with that in the next 60 days.
I believe, guys, on that, and I'm making notes myself, get a hold of Jen, but I believe there's gonna be 3 years of rollback taxes on that. That'll be assessed by our assessor, so that'll be a decent chunk of change for you guys. Not sure when that'll hit, but I'll reach out to her tomorrow and remind her that that project's going forward. So there'll be 3 years of rollback, and then that'll be a taxable project going forward, because all that energy is going into the grid. It's not servicing the property itself.
Correct, yep.
So that's a taxable, that's a nice taxable rateable for you guys, and there'll be rollbacks.
Yeah, and they supposedly want to have that done by December.
They have to.
Be operational.
Yeah, I think they have to. So I'll reach out to Jen on that for you guys, but just so you know, you'll be getting a check, a nice rollback check.
You can just reference it.
And then finally, we attended a training that DEP and the Highlands were putting on regarding our stormwater responsibilities. The good news is, for the most part, we're in compliance at the moment with the mapping requirements. They kind of, are alluding to the next phase of work that they're going to be requiring from everybody, though, which will, again, create new and expanded requirements. One thing we're going to check into is there's a grant from the Highlands Council for stormwater compliance, and we're going to see if we have any of that still available to us. What we can get out of that is basically they can reimburse the township for the work that we would have to do to put us in compliance, and also the equipment that would be necessary to maintain compliance, some of which, something similar to an iPad. There might be some responsibilities by the DPW, again, which would be covered by the grant, as well as our time to, prepare the information. So we're just gonna check into that and see if that, it was up to $15,000. So if we can get that, and make some progress towards it, that's not on township dime, we're gonna explore the possibility. So I should have a report back beyond that, by the next meeting.
And are we still on track for our inspections of,
Yeah, I think we're looking fine. Yep. So that's all I have.
Okay, thank you, Wayne. Moving on to Township Council reports. We'll start with Steve. Steve, what do you have from the DPW for?
Well, the DPW report from September 17th to October 15th, they laid out the Huntington football fields and painted lines on the fields weekly. Continued mowing weeds throughout the township roadways, checked and cleaned drainage throughout the township on 10-2, 10-3, 10-7 after heavy rains, which we haven't seen too many. But Greenwich Township DPW assisted us with the use of their street sweeper in sweeping excess mud in the roadway on Melix Woods Road for scratch paving on areas of that road. They've started the annual fall leaf pickup throughout town. Graded and blew off numerous roadways throughout our township and throughout the township. They cut up and chipped tree limbs that were hanging across wires on Pincher Point and Shackletown roads. Crack sealed around areas that were cut for basin repairs on Overly and Mountain roads. They hot patched sections of the corner of Overly and Carpentersville Road intersection and crack sealed. They picked up bagged leaves on county roadways. Serviced all the small equipment, road blowers, plate tamper, chainsaw, paint machines, generators, etc. Truck 18 had major repairs done by Uptake Sales and Service, and they assisted the Alpha DPW with our loader for their annual fall cleanup. That's it.
Steve, do you know if they have any car and chip planned yet for this year?
I don't know, Jeff? Not now. Yeah. Too late now.
Any major paving at all, or?
Northwood Road, some over the annex for next year for car and chip.
How are we on schedule for our car and chip? Have we fallen behind at all, or are we still pretty okay?
We fell behind a little bit this year. Not much.
Not much. Just something we need to be cognizant moving forward, that's all. All right, thank you, Steve. Kevin?
first with the court, for Cohacton, we had 339 traffic complaints issued for September, 339 complaints were disposed, 78 criminal complaints were brought forward, and 54 disposed. The municipal treasury had a deposit of $10,204.72. And for Greenwich, in September, 325 traffic complaints issued, 342 disposed, 46 criminal complaints, and 29 disposed. As we noted earlier, 100% of the Greenwich money is going combined with a shared service to our CFO for right now. The total amount of that local revenue being directed to POHA is $9,315.66. I need to ask the court administrator to give me a breakdown, because what we had said was 75% goes directly to us, 25% goes to escrow. And so, let me just, I want to make sure we have an accounting of that. Open space, we did not have a meeting again due to lack of quorum, so we really need to look for some additional membership there. As the engineer pointed out, the big thing for the next step is the soil conservation permit, so we'll get that check cut this week and get that application in. For the Economic Development Advisory Commission, another one, no meeting due to lack of quorum. So it's actually not on the agenda today that Darrell resigned from that commission, so we need to think about potential new members there. However, I did contact, we had from our National Night Out raffle prizes, there were still 2 prizes outstanding that are still valid for Clinton Station Diner gift certificates. I spoke with one of the women today, and I left a message for the other winners, so hopefully they'll be in soon to pick that up from Wanda or Barbara. And then the land use board meeting was probably the quickest meeting ever. I think we were in and out in 5 or 7 minutes. So the Bank of America public hearing has been pushed to October 28th. And there was a lot of interest in that. Some folks came by and we'll be back on the 28th. And there was one resolution for Michael Meng down in Tynesville for he had a couple of waivers that he put in for us that we approved. And that's it, Mr. Mayor.
Kevin, who all is on your open space committee? It's just you from council?
Yeah, it was, well, Bill and I, and then also we've got Chairman Stillo on there, we've got Mr. Person on there, and Mr. Wargo on there.
I would entertain to sit on that committee if you need another.
That's not a forum, and they're considered any committee in this township.
Right, I just don't want to have a forum, that's why I asked.
Right.
Everybody else.
Usually only one council person.
What do I have to do, Wanda, appoint myself?
Yes.
With our consent.
Well,
Or you could just attend, period.
if you're,
No, we're,
I'm the
yeah,
mayor, I can attend.
yeah, he could attend, but we need quorum, so we need an official member for quorum.
Yeah, that doesn't help.
I'll.
You want to take Bill
I'll take
Ortell's?
Bill Ortell's. spot.
Okay, and that's good through the end of the year?
Oh, okay.
So you'll have one more help you in. We'll be on, we'll look for more, I'll stay on it.
Is that consent to that?
You're more than welcome to serve. You would rather, I'll.
I look out my window, my open space every morning and enjoy it, and that's it.
Yeah.
Kevin, can I ask a quick question? Are we
Yeah.
at the point of, I know, do we have the surveys and stuff done on potential, school fields to talk about that swap with Green Acres, or are we not there yet?
We're not there yet.
Okay.
So, Chairman Stillo and I want to get together and look at those potential properties. I did have, our engineer Ingram, as well as our, tax assessor, look at those properties.
Or we're just not there?
So there are some limitations, but I think we're going to see if we can potentially put a solution together. We are somewhat, underappreciate there's a critical nature to the time sensitivity, because we want to do some work on that property this year. We want to get it, the land cleared and then hopefully get it.
Well, we can do that prior to closing with that.
Well, that's what And tomorrow night, there's a school board meeting, and Chairman Stillo is on the school board and asked me to also come talk to the Buildings and Grounds Committee. So I will be attending that subcommittee meeting. And worst case, what I had said to Chairman Stillo was the possibility of even, do a lease. Yeah, dollar. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, our concern was just that, we know that there are surveys that exist at that school, and I don't want to recreate the wheel or add expense, and I know that, we were talking about looking for what may exist on that, but I haven't received anything, and again, that'll help keep the costs down of having to do those, the lot.
When you ask that, that they order things?
I don't know.
Or you want to just ask that?
I was going to say tomorrow, do you think that's a good request of making,
Land use might have something.
of Thursday, sorry. I don't know what day it is.
When they were the planning board and the school was built,
Yeah, the solar project, you would have thought had it,
They actually did not do a full survey for the solar project.
They didn't?
No. I got the files from their
what
engineer.
about prior
and they
to
didn't
that,
have
when
it.
the school was built?
We can take a look. I mean, I don't know how, do you know approximately what year that was? No.
Yeah, we've always said it was a new school, but it's not anymore.
Yeah. There has
At
to be
least the
something.
end of the 90s. I don't know, I don't think it was the beginning
Opened
of
in 2000.
2000.
the school opened in 2000.
2000?
They said the survey done in the...
Yeah.
No, I spoke with the
Years ago. And early where the understand they put a lot of stuff back there, so a survey was done.
The whole idea, just to refresh you guys' work, also Kevin's time said that I think it might have some merit there, is that before closing, work out a deal with Green Acres where we put this property we're acquiring from the school on our open space inventory, and maybe get a couple pieces off the open space inventory that we could potentially, market and get back on the tax roll. So we haven't made that decision yet, but we just, if it's something that you guys want to proceed with, we want to try to work that out before closing, because if we don't work it out before closing, it's too late once you get. So that's all I was meant, so we're not there yet, but okay. Kevin?
That's it. All right, Mary?
Okay, this River Road, the problem we were having with the people camping and campfires and all that stuff, something did come out from the state, and you know what? I can't remember if I read it in the newspaper, whether I read it on my news feed, on my phone, or whether it came to me as an email. But that there is a ban on any kind of campfires or other types of fires, small ones, like you might cook hot dogs over or something, because of the drought. And so my point is, if anybody sees fires there, call the fire company, because it's illegal.
Well, it should be the fire. Right, that should be,
Well, whoever, whatever, I don't care. It's one way to help solve the problem.
It has been extremely dry lately.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I read it, and I'm sorry I didn't, when I read it, I was in Virginia. So I was like, oh, boy. But then, but I don't know which place it was.
Anything else?
Yes. The playground, where the slide was ruined and it cost $8,000 to get a new one. I would suggest we not even get a new slide for that. I would suggest if we're going to do anything, is we get another piece of equipment for it, something that it will be difficult for older children to break, and maybe a little less expensive.
Jeff, did you look into trying to repair that slide at all yet, or not?
Last
I'm
week-
waiting for a phone call back from Scott and then
Okay, I thought last
Okay.
meeting you said it couldn't be repaired.
no, I said it's looking at plastic road, not slide. The cracks, that big, it's not even 7 inches.
Uh-huh.
KB Well.
Well, if it cannot be repaired, I'm not saying to replace it.
Yeah, no, I'm not in favor of that either. Mary.
Because
We'll
I don't know
figure
how many children use that playground. I know it's in an area where it's not a real big area, and even the playground itself isn't that big.
The daycare down on Lee Avenue, take the kids up there.
Well, that's very nice, but then they should contribute to it.
Well, the $9,000 or $8,000, Mary, would change the whole apparatus out of what it just the sliding board. As I said, the same thing, we should spend $8,000 for sliding board. But I think, Jeff, you're saying it's that small, I think there's a way to solve that without changing the rollout. We looked into the warranty on that, and it's beyond the warranty period,
Yes.
Yeah, I think it's 15 years.
and we're just beyond that,
Naturally.
always the way.
Mayor?
It's just that we're never gonna get away from the older kids coming in and wrecking stuff.
I think probably weather, wasn't it, Jeff, more so, or you think it was actually damage?
No, I think it's weather.
I thought the consultants, I thought, I have a recollection of Mary that the consultant said that they were, the person who got the estimate from, was due to,
Older
Older
kids.
kids, yeah.
Yeah, and that's what the playground, our representative from Ben Shaver had recommended, that if council wanted to do anything to change that unit to something that is more suited for younger children, because older kids are using it.
Well, that's what I'm saying, something that it can't be easily break.
Mhm.
Because I know in the
Something
past,
aimed more
when
for
we
younger
had
kids, 'cause it's not designed for them,
older
but
kids
they use it
coming
anyway.
in And wrecking it.
The other option,
Going through there, I don't see too many older kids there.
Well, it
Not
doesn't
like
matter,
it
I'll
used
take
to be.
one.
You're absolutely right.
I mean, the daycare only goes up to, what, 8 or 10 at the most? 8. I mean, my kids went there, they do take them after kindergarten, but mostly little kids.
I guess my interpretation of that statement was teenagers using the slide perhaps at night or something. That's the way I interpreted it when I heard older kids. I could be,
Teenagers will break just about anything with that.
and they're usually not that young, 5, you know?
No, actually. All right, well, either way, you're gonna follow up and see if that can be repaired yet.
The other potential option there is if we do anything with these other properties in open space, we may be able to move some equipment from one to another. So I'm not saying that that's definitive yet, but that is a potential opportunity if we do decide to convert some of these properties back over.
Yeah, absolutely.
And do you know the size of the playground we're talking about?
Which one?
The one in the annex?
Yes,
The one
very-
that has the equipment broken?
Very small.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, it's not big at all, it's very small.
What is it, 50 by 50, Jeff? If that?
Probably 50 by 75.
It's not very big. I had to ask where it was, Mary, because I couldn't, then when I was told where it was at, then I remembered going by it many times when I dropped my kids off at,
Yeah. It
daycare.
doesn't like stand out like,
No.
man.
No.
It's definitely a local playground.
Anything else, Mary?
Nope, that's it.
Mayor, I forgot to give an update from the fire department, so if I could.
Absolutely.
So the fire department had activity between September 1st and September 30th. There were a number of different activities that totaled 141 different participants that he counted to the activities for a total of 100.17 man-hours. And with regard to number of incidents that occurred in that same period, there were 13 incidents that occurred throughout the township. And that's the report from the fire department.
All right, very good. Thank you, Kevin. Myself, the Environmental Commission met this month. We were given our new liaison back to the Musconetcong Watershed Association. A young lady, Randy, do you remember what her name was? Well, either way, we have a new liaison back to the watershed. They had discussed a potential project like we had done with our previous one, the tree planting here, that had brainstormed to try to come up with another good project for next year, working with the watershed. There was a lot of discussion about the tree planting that we've done here, the buffer. I guess Les Nichols had done a interview with, what was her name from Lopakon?
Juniper Lifer?
Juniper Lifer, yes, interviewed him to talk about the project. That project was very successful, along with our rain garden. I guess the rain garden was one of the better projects that they participated in, from what I gathered. We talked a little bit about relocating the community garden if something was to happen with the Shimer School property, which hopefully, once we can get that back out on, we should maybe even discuss that.
I did reach out to Max Dan, he's going to give me some next auction. And I did tell him that he's now about You're not designated as an area of immediate development, so, I think you guys have information for the next meeting if you want to.
Yeah, I'd like to take action on that sooner than later. I don't want to say by the end of the year, but I would love to see
I would like to
something
do it by the end of the year, because any money you get, then it'd be next year's
next year's
budget.
budget.
Yeah, I agree. I think we need to move this.
I'll
All right.
try to have that set up and, get that
I mean,
all-
you had someone interested, right, Steve?
No, not in the school.
Not in the school?
There's been a lot of inquiry, I know the chief had somebody contacted the chief, so I think the best thing is just throw it out that on the auction and,
You don't think an RFP type deal would be with a reserve or not?
Well, we can put a reserve on the auction.
Well, we put it with, we did, well, we know we did it
last
before.
one, and we got a decent number, so I think
I just think we need to do better due diligence on our buyers, that we don't end up in the same place that we ended up
Well,
before.
we can't put too high of a reserve on because we might scare people away. That scares people away, reserves.
well, don't forget, we kept, $17,000 of their money.
Right, but we wasted another 6 or 8 months in the meantime, but it's not, it's still
Well,
ours,
the benefit of it is we got the redevelopment in place, that's very good.
right?
Redevelopment designation, if a big sell, I think it should help a lot.
I agree. And I had to go down to Trenton, and there was like a 30-day approval process. Is
I
that
believe that
window?
period is going, I'll check with Jim Conlon on that. I'll try to get that set up so we can maybe, get out to auction before the end of the year and get closed, that'd be great. Be great to get back in tax rolls, great to have that revenue.
Ask Max Span if he's gonna do the auction, one of the best time of the year.
Okay.
Do something like Christmas time, between Christmas and Thanksgiving might not be the time when people are thinking about spending money on a big
I'm
project.
just talking about a combo auction in the, so let me get some dates, and if I need to have you guys get together for a 2-second quick authorization, we'll do that.
Just, I mean, he's the expert, see
Yeah.
what he thinks would be the best time to sell something like that. Me personally, I would think springtime would be better, but maybe not.
Oh, I would, even wintertime, I wouldn't be afraid, because everybody
Yeah.
can plan to enforce.
Which-
That's
Right,
what
right,
I'm saying,
yeah.
you know, for commercial, it's probably fine, you're gonna go get approvals.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a project that we're more than willing, whoever's interested in it, to work with, so, we're eager to get that back on the rolls. So the environmental commission, that was it there. I had a meeting on the 20, I believe it
There
was,
was also the stormwater management checklist.
oh, correct. We were trying to make sure we had all our boxes, or as many boxes checked on that as possible.
And I don't know if I CC'd you, now I think about it. I did get the checklist again from the engineer. I sent it on to the chairman, the secretary, and I think my wife, just so that the environmental commission has that, because there's a few things there that we need to maintain a certain level of points for credit. And so I think that you guys are probably on track for today, because part of that's the mailings that we send out about waste and that other stuff. But the signage that you're doing for the tree planting, but also to the box. That's something that the environmental commission needs to.
Then the other properties there in the redevelopment.
Where?
We did that like about 2 or 3 meetings ago.
All right, and one last thing, I had a meeting on the 24th with, Carrie Flug something?
Yep.
Carrie Flug from the DEP. She is our municipal liaison back to Trenton and the DEP. I met with her probably for over an hour. I had a punch list of a half dozen items that I came up with, things around the township that were DEP related. Carrie was very good. I got 2 or 3 emails back, addressed all the questions I had for her. She put me in touch with everybody in the different, various departments that were in charge of the areas of concern. As I said, I was very impressed, very down to earth, very, how would I say, people-friendly kind of. I always think of the DEP, and right away I cringe when I hear those 3 initials. But she was very, very helpful, and I look forward to working with her on various things around the township when we need help from the DEP. With that, that's all I have.
Mr. Mayor, if you could indulge me for a second, I have one more question for the engineer.
Absolutely.
I know last time we talked about that, at the mall, and we at DEP did you follow up with them just to make sure that we're showing our diligence?
I did, I asked them again, and I kind of, you're,
And I mentioned it to her as well.
Yep. So, and if you want to forward me her information, I'd be happy to reach out to her and see if maybe she can spur that particular division to take some action. I've responded to them a few times, and we don't seem to make much progress with that, because I think they're nervous about setting a precedent that's going to cause 200 other municipalities to start saying, hey, why don't you start enforcing my problems, which I think is what they're nervous about, but perhaps if we have...
I just want to make sure we're demonstrating due diligence on our part.
We are, yeah.
Yeah, I can't see how they would come back on us. I mean, we've done all we can do within our powers. You know, we've notified them, and
And that may be something else, I don't know if we can work this into that whole appeal thing, but you talk about negligence, that's another negligible item, that they're not taking care of the property.
Theoretically, we would have the ability to go in there and clean out that basin and impose that as a municipal lien, but, you know, that's money we have to dance out of pocket, and I don't want to do that. So, that's all, I don't want the DEP to tell us we have to do that. As long as they're saying we can, if we're pressing the issue, if they're going to be satisfied with that, that's fine by me. Well, you know, that basin's not, realistically, that basin and nothing else at that property is going to be properly taken care of, so it's really going around.
The good news is it's fenced off. It is a danger, but the reality is that at least with fenced off, there's no one who's going to get hurt from it. So, you know, at least that's, you know, a good thing.
all right, moving on. We have some resolutions here. It looks like 3 resolutions.
I move to take all 3.
Mary Moon, anybody make a second?
Second.
Okay, Babinski? Melvin?
Yes.
Van Loo?
Yes.
Swack?
Yes. Ordinances, first reading of ordinances, we have none. Moving on to the second reading, we have 3 ordinances up for second reading. I guess we should open it up for public comment, correct, Kevin?
I don't want them all of them.
We should open one at a time.
One at a time?
So, and actually, in 1903, we opened public, we closed, we carried the discussion, so is anybody here to talk about that tonight? I think we at least one person, so I guess we should reopen that to the public.
I would recommend that.
All right, I will open up ordinance 19-03 for public comment at this
And
time.
wasn't there also follow-up items? I know that we had, Kyle, are you prepared to follow up with that stuff that,
That was requested at the
Yeah.
last meeting?
okay.
Okay, we need a second.
Need a second, then.
Second.
I'll set up.
Okay. And let me call the roll. Babinski?
Yes.
Melvin?
Yes.
Van Loo?
Yes.
And Swack?
Yes.
So public hearing's open. Kyle, give us some information, why don't you come on up and just sit down and get comfortable and put, you know, you have a microphone.
Okay, is there a reason why we don't have copies of what you have?
Mary, you gotta speak up.
Is this working? Is this working?
Yeah.
I said, is there any reason?
He has.
There you go. Thanks, Ron.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kyle.
All right, how do we want to handle this, Kevin? You want to start with questions from council, questions from gallery, where do you want to
I'll
start?
let Kyle comment on what he gave us.
The Huntington Volunteer Fire Department Association is utilizing property at 1403 Center Street for additional storage for the fire company, as well as chill sets for training purposes. This association is looking to entertain property and make a few changes to the landscape. And at this time, the association will not be serving alcohol on Twin View Center Street property to the 10th. And then go through other articles of do so. And lastly, the board of directors will revisit an action plan for this property in 2020 for capital monies of the association.
Anything else, Kyle, you wanted to add? This mayor, so if you want to thank the board, tell the board any questions about it. Appreciate the additional information. I would just comment just generically again, and we kind of know what this ad nauseam last time, I think Wayne commented as well from the room. I mean, it may well be possible, Kyle, and as a fire department association, you're aware, you know, this is a residential district, I believe, Wayne, so even these minor things that you guys want to do, Kyle, it's probably going to require some type of limited site plan approval, because you're doing stuff that's not residential related, so even though you guys are a nonprofit volunteer organization, so just bear that in mind, but that's just a general comment, so
Yeah,
talk to the zoning officer and take it from there, and, you know, I'm sure the township engineer would give you some guidance if you need it, but just be aware that you might need some site plan approval stuff, and some variance relief, frankly.
Yeah.
So,
that was my question, leading up to what the council just said, is what are you gonna be storing? It says it's for additional storage. Any inkling you can give us?
Yes, I answer yes, because I don't know, but I'm not finding.
But Kyle, your association is in charge of this building. You are president of this association. You should be able to tell us, other than just to make statements.
I'm just saying, I don't know the proper terminology for that, it's hoses and ATV, and this other,
Fire
apparatus. Yeah, and,
In a shed?
Yes, like that question.
Yeah.
It's just-
These things are already on the shed, are they not?
So it's an existing shed.
So it's already there? Okay. And so then you say, all right, and I can understand that for the storage, and then, what about a drill site for training purposes? What kind of drills would they be running in the house?
I think that's, the drills, like that.
But the association is in charge of this. They should know. What kinds of drill, they said the house could be used as a drill site, so I asked them what kinds of drills would be used, the house would be used for.
Okay, last month we had ladder
Excuse me,
training.
I'm asking him.
Like it's supposed to nice to do, and have to go with ladders up to a house.
Can you please speak up?
Yeah, I'm having a hard time here.
We're aging.
How to put ladders up to the house, and also search and rescue, and, proper ways of entry to a house and the structure. That's all. Yeah.
All right, and then, all right, and you're going to be looking into fencing. If it's too expensive, you won't do it, or what?
It all depends on our capital monies and how the association's doing at the time. I mean, I can't, because you have to, we're gonna make money every month, or lose money, or, ups and downs. So, we're looking
Okay. So, also then you say you're not going to be serving alcohol at this time. But then, so that does indicate that in the future you would be?
That is all subject to, what happens down the road.
Well, that's why we're asking for a time frame. Even if it's general, like you say, in the year 2020, we hope to blah, 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 that kind of thing. In the year 2021, this is going to happen. And I understand it's based on capital monies, but I think you guys you do take in a nice chunk of change. Because we only give $500 a year, so that means everything that's there is yours to be spent on this project. But what you've given us here really tells us some more information, but it doesn't allow for anything that's going to happen in the future. And like for example, the people living there, will it impact property values? If you go the way you're going to go, or, anything in terms of, I don't know, you could bring in your children, but there are children that live on that street. So there's like other things that are involved in just the fire association. So that's why I'm thinking of the other people too.
I have a further question about the fencing and the changes to the property landscape. I think that may be of interest based upon the last conversation. So can you elaborate a little bit more on the locale? Because the board, the residents here that live across the street and stuff. So when you say fencing, what's the current proposed plan that you may go down that may address some of the concerns?
We might, go from, the end of the house.
Can you pull that mic closer? It's hard to hear you.
We're going to move the end of the house, probably over to the other driveway. And then come down, come towards the alleyway, and then we'll stop right there. But then, so I'm not sure if it would actually close off the alley. I'm not sure.
So just the front side of the house?
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, the front side and then down to the other side of the driveway of the house.
Again, I think, and I do thank you for coming back and giving some additional information, but I think, again, my view, and I think it's the same as Wayne's, but because it is a residential zone, I think Kyle and the association, whoever else is out there, you're going to have to make a minor site plan approval, and it's probably going to require what's called a use variance for these, because the things that you're talking about using it for aren't residential uses, of course. So all these things, fencing, storage, it can all be part of the site plan. And when I say site plan, I'm not talking about necessarily spending a zillion dollars with engineers. We have a very commonly land use board, and we recognize that as volunteers. But so I think from our standpoint, guys, I just want to really that all these things that are being asked tonight will have to be developed on some piece of paper and say.
I don't know if I agree with that completely, Council. So, because a fence can still be up to the proposed use that it is now, residential, right? So, I don't know if a fence or a hedge or the landscapes, whatever they're talking about, so that doesn't mean necessarily to go to landscape. It goes to the land use board. However, the fence would need to get zoning construction, but that any person could do. So if you're if you own that residential unit, you can do that tomorrow, right? But the other pieces, I do agree with council, because it's not a use permitted, we need to go to the land use board. So there are some pieces that I think you can take action on immediately, which may address the concerns of residents proactively. And that's the reason for some of our questions. And then other things you need to take further actions and approval on subsequently.
I would ask again that we table this, and I would, instead of just like go month by month, just say indefinitely until some of these other questions get answered.
We have to finish the public hearing and close the public hearing.
Well, I'm just talking at this point.
How far does this alley go back? You know,
It goes actually to Chestnut Street,
okay.
but part of it is all grassy already. If you drive around the block, you can see that there's trees and grass for part of it already.
So it'll get divided in half, and half will go to the residents.
But the
that
part
live there
that
already.
encompasses where the fire company is located, the
Right.
association is located, that is like all gravel and everything.
Mhm.
In fact, the firemen, I do believe, park against the building on one side. So, and that's the thing, is that,
Where do you put that?
No, I understand.
and
yeah.
but my point is, once it's done, it's done. And that's why I would prefer to hold off.
Let's finish.
Well, we vacated a lot of
Let's
alleys.
finish the public comment.
Yeah, we have vacated a lot of alleys in town.
And I
But the
have to-
liquor and all that sort of thing is a different issue from vacating an alley.
Lots of
Yeah.
issues on this. But let's hear from the public also.
Is there anything else for Kyle?
No, but thank you, Karen. Just for watching you do it.
Any public comment? There we go.
Check this out.
You all should have gotten this picture that I sent one time, I had asked her to send it to council.
I have not. Can we see that
I
now?
haven't seen that either.
Sorry.
We can-
That was a picture looking out of my front window to the property which the fire company purchased at the beginning of the
Oh,
year.
yeah, looking at it, that's another. Mhm. When did you send this to me?
Shortly after the last meeting. So I was looking for the minutes to the August meeting, and I understand that they weren't approved. So Kevin had said that the meetings get uploaded on YouTube. So I went back and I reviewed the August meeting, because I wasn't in attendance, and I guess that was when the fire company had come to petition to have the alley vacated. And I believe the reasoning that they gave was because they were looking to extend their liquor license to the property. So I guess my first question is, that petition was considered the first reading of the ordinance? Okay.
No, well, it was, the vacation orders were prepared by me in advance of the meeting.
Because I was,
What happened was,
on the agenda.
what happened, no, it was on the agenda, first reading, clearly. Prepared in advance. What happened was prior to our last meeting, sometime prior to our last meeting, Wanda received an application to extend their liquor license to the premises they acquired. Wanda correctly raised the question about the fact that this alley is between the properties, and because that's a public right-of-way at this time, you cannot extend a liquor license to the adjoining, to a property that's not adjoining. So there was a fire association requested consideration that be vacated. As Steve has indicated, we vacated many alleys like this over the years because they're simply not needed. So I reached out to Wayne, our township engineer, he took a look at it, took pictures. It's extremely overgrown. It's basically it's become everybody's additional backyard, if you will. There's big trees in the middle of it. So Wayne felt it was appropriate from an engineering standpoint to vacate it. He prepared a short description. I prepared the standard vacation ordinance, which, was a question about a water line, but we always reserve all public utility rights. And so basically, it's kind of a standard operating procedure type of thing. It's on for first reading. And then at the meeting, some residents raised concerns, mostly about, liquor license issues and so on and so forth. And if you look at the meeting, there's kind of a discussion about the...
Is it standard operating to get it the day of the meeting and seeing it all for the first time?
It was available well before that.
Well, I didn't get it well before that, and I checked my mailbox.
When you look up that alley, though, you can definitely see where the alley is. I mean, I don't know the dimensions clearly.
Yeah, part of it's still kind of open in the back part becomes trees, but
partway down.
That alley goes through those trees, that's still part of the public right of way, and that's what we're gonna do.
So then, of course, after launching on this meeting, it does appear that they have been saying that they have no idea what they're doing with this property. They don't have a plan. So, of course, then again, I asked, like I asked last meeting, what's the urgency to vacate the alley if in fact the only reason presented for consideration was for the liquor license? And now if they're not looking to extend their liquor license, again, I asked, what's the urgency to vacate the alley?
I would defer probably to Wayne on that, but I think basically from the engineering standpoint, from basically the way the alley exists, it's no longer being maintained as a public right of way, and those are the types of alleys we typically take. And that's kind of a standalone decision from any liquor license discussions, I guess, again, if you watch the tape, you know, if the alley's vacated, there would be adjoining, so theoretically, the liquor license could at some point be extended if the association decides to do that. But we have completely separate and distinct controls over that. That's the only social affairs committee. Every time they want to use it over there, we can get the ability to say yes or no. And again, as I said, these types of things that they want to improve, it may not fancy it's better than that. But they because they've been using non-residential use, you know, at some point if they want to do anything significant over there are certainly need site plan approvals and variances, and there'll be more public hearings, and you get notice as a property owner between 100 feet and everything else. So, you know, I've tried to focus on just the vacation aspect and the appropriateness of that standalone from anything else they may do.
Has anybody checked with ABC?
Yeah, but yes, Juan and I checked with ABC about all of this.
And do we have it in writing from that? Or do we have it in verbal, because you have made errors?
Well, a couple errors in 20 years up.
Yeah, but if they're important errors, then it counts.
So the alley has been this way, as far as I know, for the 17 years that I've lived in the neighborhood. So have there been a lot of lawsuits and issues and things that have been complained about with this alley, other than just currently?
Just correct.
So, also at the meeting, to address some of the items on their list, he said that they're not looking to extend their liquor license, I guess, at this point. So, I would hope at any point, council would, again, remember that, like you guys have said, it is a residential area, and he also said that there were advantages to vacating the alley to allow them to extend. I don't see one advantage of putting a liquor license in the middle of my neighborhood, how that could be of any advantage to any of the residents. Especially for those of us who are raising families.
Have you spoken with any real estate people as far as the values of these homes?
No, but that was on my next question. Clearly, I did actually have an appraisal done not so long ago, so I will have a comparison in the future. But anything that the association does across the street, whether it be extended liquor license or any of the rumors that have gone on around town, will affect not only the people who are directly in connection with that property at 1403, but that's going to trickle over to the rest of the township when other people do their appraisals. It's not just the houses on that street that will be drastically affected. So I hope that's also kept in mind, you know, as this moves forward. And I know they were talking about how, well, if they extend their liquor license and they have all of their events right there at 1403, then they don't have to block Maple Avenue. Okay, agreed. However, there's only one resident there. When they move it to 1403, now you're affecting 9 directly. And by blocking off where the fire department is, it's just a corner of that road. It's not as if anything, actually, it reduces the traffic through our neighborhood, because then people from Green Street can't cut through Falls Street. So, where the fire department is, and where they currently post in their space, and their events, and when they close that road, it's contained. It's not in anybody's backyard, per se. So it's in one specific area, and not right in the face of all the residents who live there. So I don't think a road closure, the few times a year, closing Neal Avenue is a big inconvenience to anybody in the neighborhood compared to what the noise and the parking and whatever else is going to go on at 1403. In comparison, that road closure a couple of days a year, I think is a better option than the inconvenience it's going to be for the people who live in the neighborhood, unfortunately.
Anybody have any thoughts on council?
One question, so the ABC has no control if they bought 5 houses all next to each other, they could have a liquor license?
We have checks and balances. And even if the license is extended, and again, the chief was here last time, Steve, you weren't here, and Wanda and I have checked, and I've checked, and I know Mary wants some type of treatise on it, but it's very straightforward. The bottom line is it's a social affairs permit, and even if it's extended, every single time they would want to use it for an event, that application comes here, and we have absolute authority to say yes or no. Period, end of story.
Much like when they have a thing in
Yeah, just like it is
or
now.
whatever.
It's no different than their license now.
Mhm.
Every time they do something,
That's not
The
true.
residents aren't
That's not
notified.
true.
that's absolutely true.
They have things going on in the association, different kinds of things.
If
and
they
then
want to
from
extend
anywhere-
beyond the inside of their building, they need to come here. That's the case, anytime, any place. Period. And that would continue.
And the residents aren't notified. So it comes to council as well.
So on a social affairs permit application, probably not. That goes actually here and it goes to ABC. It's actually electronic
And
filing.
then at the last meeting, you had said that as a courtesy, residents could potentially be notified of events like that. Or, and I had asked this to Wanda too, could the residents be notified once they apply for that extension? I don't know if they rescinded it now.
Oh, there is no the liquor license, extension of the premises that actually get public hearing. That, the initial expansion.
They have the variance relief as well. So that's two separate approvals that would be noticed for.
So if they apply for their liquor license to go to 1403, they also have to apply for a variance because it's residential, in which case this would happen again. If the residents are notified, there would be a public hearing.
Yeah, and that's just not for newspaper, that's coming directly to you as a $200
No, it's a residential.
for the variance, yeah.
Yeah, but if they get a variance, then
No, there's two separate issues. One is the liquor license, ABC, and one is the use variance. That's two different boards, ABC, land use board. And both of those would require notice to you, or notice in the public for the ABC, notice to you for the land use board.
The public has 5 days to object to the liquor license as well.
I'm not sure about the liquor license, but the notice with regard to the land use board, if I sent on the land use board, you would get a direct notice, a direct mail to you for you to come and testify similar to what you're doing here, any concerns or issues about any potential variance that they would request. So that is direct. That's why, and, you know, I'll share a little bit more about this after we close public comment. There are sets of checks and balances that are still to come with regard to potential uses down the road. So the vacating of an alley is somewhat common, and we've done it many times before, without regard to whoever is going to be the...
Right, and I would still, with all due respect, ask for it not to be vacated, because it only came to question because of the request for the extension of the liquor license. And if they're not wanting to do that, then why go through vacating the alley?
I don't have it in front of me, but I thought there was not a laundry list, but a list of items.
Well, I asked
it was
if
very general, I think it's...
No, but there was something, and maybe...
I think it still keeps being general.
Well,
I had asked for anything given that could be used for the position when they came in August, and I was told nothing existed.
I mean, that's very common with any vacations. Typically, some resident in the area, for some reason, will bring it to our attention. Because what happens with these animals, as you can imagine, they basically fall off the radar. We don't plow them, we don't do anything. When somebody has an issue, you know, they've done, by the way, for example, we've had people come in, oh, we just got served one, we realize that our shed is sitting in what's facing it now. Can you take this for? Yes. Occasionally it's a no, because it doesn't make sense, or because there's a specific reason for us, like we need to have a possible future drainage structure or something there. In this instance, that all I've been trying to say is that, again, we have James, our township engineer, we took a look at this one. This is one of those that, from a standalone objective basis, we don't maintain it, it meets all the criteria for vacation on a standalone basis. It's just not something we should probably maintain in public works. And I think the whole idea that we should not vacate it because that somehow creates impediments to what the association wants to do. I just would like, as we begin, I would just reiterate that there are plenty of separate and distinct controls. So if you're not maintaining the alley, from my legal perspective, it's better to vacate something that we're not maintaining and it should be part of our public portfolio. And then anything else that happens, whether it's use variance or that's a separate and distinct matter or separate and distinct controls. That's what I'm saying.
I don't know if all our vacating of alleys occurred before you were our attorney or not.
Well, I've been
But I
attorney for 20
do,
years,
I know you
most
have
of them have been on my
been,
watch.
but I've been around here before that, as far as council goes. So what I'm saying is, I've voted in the past for vacating lots of alleys, and there was never any major issue about anything, not like this particular alley. So, all your platitudes that you're saying, as far as I'm concerned, do not really come into play as far as this particular alley is concerned.
So just to address some of the items that was hard to see here, Kyle, but as far as the storage, if all they're looking to store is what's there now, I'm good, that's fine. They're cutting grass, it looks fine, still my private little neighborhood, they have their trailer back there, they have another trailer on the side or something, kind of out of sight, out of mind, what they have in house, I have no idea, none of my business, don't care, don't see it. As far as the fence, like, are they gonna put a stockade fence from the house to the other driveway, like, could they? I mean, that would kind of,
Well, they can do that, and we have no control over it. It meets the land,
But there's setbacks to that.
Yeah,
But
so
there's
there's height
setbacks.
requirements or setback requirements. If they met all of those, they could do that by right. No different than any property
That
owner.
house that's very, very close to the need of fairness for that too?
If the house is existing and they met, if the fence meets the requirements, they can
Yeah, but
get
I'm
a zone
saying
permit.
that the existing house on the one side is very close,
Well, they can always set it back.
so I don't know about the setbacks.
The setback can be on the property line.
Yeah, a fence of a certain height can be on the line, if they wanted to.
and I think it's 2 months, actually, I don't know if it's just.
I mean, and I would hope that the association would talk to concerned neighbors like yourselves about some of these plans and potential aesthetic changes
I would hope, yeah.
that would potentially come to a collaboration agreement that says, hey, this is what we're thinking of, and that's something perhaps, we can take offline
Don't put a
to counsel
stockade
that.
fence and then try to do
Right.
the back there without
Yeah,
being considered, for sure.
okay. I mean, it's just a good neighbor policy, right?
Again, I just, like I said, whatever moves forward, I'm happy to hear that kind of we're at a lull right now, and I don't have to worry at least until January 1st. But again, just keep in mind that there are families facing this issue.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment pertaining to, ordinance 19-03?
I just want to echo what she said. My name is Ben Jensen, I live up the block at 1418. I'm just concerned not knowing what's going on necessarily. I would just like to be informed if anything does change. She came to me and raised concern that if you have some, reservations about liquor license and stuff like that, a lot of it is based on ignorance. And I get that, so I'm just really trying to figure out exactly what it's going to be used for. And kind of the statement, I think with Kyle, kind of rose some more, because it seems like there wasn't a clear plan that could be given. So, just wanted to state that.
Yeah, thank you. Just sign in if you could.
Any other public comment? If not, we need a motion to close public comment.
All in favor?
Aye. We'll get through the other two ordinances in a public comment, or vote on it?
Vote on it.
Yeah, vote on this first.
That's discussion?
Yeah, this is where I'd like to move to table it again, until some of the things that need to be done are done. Because once you adopt this ordinance, then the alley is vacated, and you cannot change that. So it's better to let it stay in place, have them go for some of the things they need to go for, and then take it up again, which is why I'm saying table.
I don't know if they can do that until...
I don't think you can table indefinitely, can you, Kevin?
No, it's to make a...
If they want to change the use, though, they could still go to the land use board for change of use. That doesn't involve the alley.
So Mary's obviously not
Except for the
tabling the
liquor.
ordinance. One is right, you can't definitely table anything. We need an up or down vote tonight,
Well,
so.
see, you're the one who said table it only for a month when I wanted it to be
That's right,
tabled
I
longer.
just said you cannot indefinitely,
And now that's it, so now you're saying that.
so I'm being perfectly consistent.
So my
So somebody
comment,
needs to make a motion to approve or deny, we'll get, and then see if there's a second.
are we still in discussion?
Yes.
Okay. So my comment on this, when I looked at this, and I appreciate Tim raising your concerns and stuff like that, I look at this as there's a set of checks and balances that are still to come. And what I did was I looked at this and said, from a vacation perspective, vacating that alley, take out fire association, put in anybody you want, put in any organization, whether it's a church, whether it's a business, whether it's a resident, what would we do in this case? And from that perspective, I would say that we would vacate the alley, right? And that's what the engineer came and brought to the table, is to say, we're not doing anything that we would do differently with this vacation. I do think that Kim has raised some good concerns here. I think there needs to be some collaboration on the part of the association to reach out to residents to ensure that there's some comfort level, because obviously there's some discomfort there, and that's just being a good neighbor.
Well, they need to come to us too before they can,
Well, that's the other thing, is that there's
before they can do any of
two
that.
more steps. There's the step about the liquor license, which will require a public notice, and there's a step about any use variance to do outside of residential, which would be a direct notice to the residents. So because of those additional steps that are available, my opinion is I would move to vacate the alley. That's my opinion.
All right, but let me say this. You're saying, but if they're going to do training in that house and so forth,
That's a use variance.
and yes, it is, and they can do that before the alley's vacated. They do not need that alley vacated for them to
That's
do
true, I'm
that.
taking all of that.
And that's
out of
what I'm
the-
saying is, they should go and get some of these other things done first, and then you vote for vacating, because once you vacate that alley, you cannot take it back, it is vacated.
I appreciate
Whereas
that.
they can go for the variance, and that can be done, and that's part of the plan, and you can see that they're following the plan. And then down the road, then, you can still, if you want to vacate the alley, vacate it, but just not to rush into it. Because all this has seemed to me to be was a rush. From the day we got the first reading, the day of the meeting, where it was proposed, and didn't really give you any time to think about it, and you rushed through passing it because it was only the first reading, and then, and the second reading of the month. You rushed into it, and that is a mistake. So that's what I'm saying, is you need to hold off on this for a while, instead of rushing into it.
All right, let's cut it right there, that's enough, Mary. We have a motion to table it. Is there a second to that motion? Hearing none, the motion dies, correct, Kevin?
Yes, it does.
All right, Mr. Melvin, you had made a motion.
Motion to approve. 1903. Right?
Second.
Is that what it is? 1903?
Yes, sir. Okay,
Whichever one it is, we all know which one it is.
okay, Babinski,
Yes.
Melvin,
Yes.
Van Loo,
No.
and Slack.
Yes. I don't appreciate that, Mary. We're all here trying to work together. We all can have differences of opinion.
Sure.
All right, moving on, ordinance 1904 and ordinance 1905. Anybody have any issues taking these? We have to open up for public comment?
Yeah, we can do one motion with those.
All right, we'll open both of those up for, public comment at this time. Anybody has any comments, come forward. Seeing none,
I
close.
move we close public comment and adopt the two ordinances.
Second.
Okay, Babinski? Melvin?
Yes.
Van Loo?
Yes.
Swack?
Yes. Motions, we have 3 motions on the ticket here. I don't need to read through them, but like,
I had a question about the first one.
Rescinding the first one.
Yeah, he just got approved last month.
anybody here can explain that, Wanda?
A background check issue.
Okay.
Okay? So we have 3 motions. The last one has to do with River Road, what we talked about before. And the second one, as Kevin had talked about in his topics, Mr. Swinecki is resigning from the PDAC.
I'll make a motion, we take the 3 of them together.
I'll second.
Okay, Babinski?
Yes.
Melvin?
Yes.
Van Loo?
Yes.
Swack?
Yes. Mayor's announcement, the rabies clinic will be held at the municipal building on Saturday, January 4th, 2019, from 10:30 to 11:30 a.m. Jeff, you guys will coordinate everything on that like you always do, correct?
Yeah.
Typo, yeah, I'm sorry, good catch, 2020.
Just say 2019.
I don't want 2019 to be going yet, I guess.
Me neither.
All right, any, general, we don't need an executive.
It is Saturday, January 4th, though, right, Wanda?
Yes.
Okay.
Any other public comments at this time? Come forward, Mr. Sickles.
I just want to speak on behalf of the fire company for Wayne. Are you involved as far as inspections with the solar field?
We are, yes.
Okay. When their plan was first approved, they were told they have fencing around the solar field, correct, with a gate on High Street?
What's the gate on High Street?
I mean, the main gate is on,
Yeah.
was that Carpentersville?
Is that on Parkersville?
Or the county road is where their access is supposed to be on.
That would be High
That's-
Street.
yes, that High- yes.
By the church there.
Yes, correct, to the left of the church,
Okay.
yes.
Okay. They were told when they put that in that they need to put a Knox box in.
Correct.
I don't know if that's still there. I mean, they have to get an application from the fire company in order to get a Knox box, so that we have access to that 24 hours a day. If you could just reiterate that to them.
Yeah, certainly, that is on our list of checklist items that they haven't gotten there yet, but I'll make a note, to tell them, amongst some other issues we're working on with them, but yes.
Thank you.
Just one quick question out of my own personal curiosity, Wayne. I understand once those panels are installed and up and generating, there's no way really to shut them off, is there? Is that so or not?
It depends how they set it up. There's remote ways to shut it off. The equipment has its own shut off. If you ask them, they don't really want fire personnel entering there because there's an electrical issue and there's no real danger to the public because it's contained. That's what they'll tell you. But yes, I mean, how they shut it off, I mean, usually it's gonna turn itself off. If there's a fire, there's a fire, but the equipment will actually shut itself off, and they have remote monitoring as well, to be able to do it.
But there is shut-offs on every on every string of panels. Okay? There is a switch that you can disconnect that from the power grid.
But it's still generating up to that first switch, correct?
The solar panel never stops generating power.
That was my point.
There's always power.
You can just separate,
We have to be
correct.
aware of, and we are aware of that, and as far as, okay, we don't want fire coming in here, well, if they get a grass fire between their things, between their panels the roads have to be wide enough that we can get a brush truck down there, because we get a fire in there, we're going in. We're well aware that, hey, there's electric here, we know that.
I understand that. They have their own opinion.
Pardon?
I said the brush truck goes like the southern part.
No, we have 2 brush trucks.
We have 2 now?
Yes, ma'am, we always have.
All right, thank you, Mr. Sickles.
Thank you.
Any other public comment? Hearing none, motion to adjourn.
I will return.
All in favor?
Aye.
Night, everybody.